Thank you very much. This program is paid for by Second Liberian GSM. My name is Emmanuel Bowier. We're doing our best to entertain you. Well, if you've been following our presentation since Monday, we are shifting the emphasis to our past. We look at the natural resource management. We talk about the governance history, management of our country. Yesterday, Dr. Tao was here. He expanded extensively on that, and the nation was entertained. Today, another person, a well-known person in our country when it comes to our history, Reverend Bowier. He has accepted our invitation to talk about the people, and he's titled that as Liberia, so stranger. I agree. Where did we come from, all of us, the various tribes of Liberia? I think he will concentrate on a few tribes this morning, and I want to use this opportunity to say, Reverend Bowier, I am beholden by your presence this morning. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
So, how do I call you? Historian?
No, I didn't study history.
So what will be the right calculation?
I just read some old history books.
And start with the old people?
Yes, I should go on the old man.
And for the old man, we usually plan the new one.
And I'm somebody who remembers.
Okay. And
if you can remember, you're all right.
That's very good. And thank you very much for accepting our invitation to talk about our country.
You're welcome.
So I want to give you the next few minutes. How many tribes you want to talk about first of all?
No, I'm not going to talk about any particular ethnic group or tribe. I'm going to talk about the fact that Liberians are so strangers.
Okay.
No group came from this country.
Nobody came from under the ground.
Nobody came from under the ground.
Okay.
We all migrated.
But that is a reality of man's existence. We all been gathering, hunting, and they're moving from one place.
But some people behave as if this place belongs to them exclusively, and that is wrong.
And we have to start.
Every group belongs here.
Okay.
In fact, people say we have 16 tribes or ethnic groups. We do not have 16. We have more than 16.
So do we have tribes that behave as if they are specifically for this country?
Oh yeah. I mean, my father is Bassa, and our people usually like to think that they own the land. At Conclu, we own the land.
Bazago.
And that's not true.
Okay, so go ahead.
The Bazago migrated here.
From?
If you go as far as Kenya, you find Mombasa.
It was named after the Bassa.
If you go to the Zambia, you find the Kabura Bassa Dam. From there you move to Cameroon, where they have more Bassa people in Cameroon today than we have in Liberia, speaking the same Bassa. I first discovered that in the 1970s when I was at the University of Liberia. And there was a gentleman from Cameroon who was my classmate in the College of Agriculture and Forestry. His name was Gabriel Bassa Kumba. And I asked him, how come you got the name Bassa? He said, because I'm a Bassa person. And he spoke Bassa.
But from Cameroon? You
leave Cameroon and you come to Nigeria. In Nigeria, in Lagos, they have a whole political subdivision in Lagos called the Bassa local government area. You leave there, you go to Abuja, they have a whole Bassa tribe in Abuja. And a missionary and his wife worked in Nigeria for 35 years, and they wrote a book called The Bassa Heart. And that book was based on their experience with the Bassa people of Nigeria. So, and you leave Nigeria, you come to the Ivory Coast, you see Grand Bassam. And then from the Ivory Coast, then we have Grand Bassa. Still, my people say we own the land. The fact is that they were one of the first groups to come here, but no one owns this land. This land belongs to all people. All people. Even people who were not born here have a right to come here and apply to be citizens. And as soon as that citizenship is concluded, they have the same right as those who came here in the 16th, 17th, and 1800s. Therefore, Liberia is the home of strangers. Liberia is the stranger father, and we are all strangers that came here for refuge.
So why did they call them indigenous?
Indigenous, it means that they were the first to be here. It doesn't mean that they came out of the ground. They didn't come out of the ground. Indigenous are the people who have been here for a long time, and the immigrant, the indigenous were the old immigrant that became familiar with the place, so that they are indigenous to the place. But every generation there will be immigrants coming in, and after some time the immigrant become indigenous.
So what was the first tribe to arrive?
No one has been able to establish that. Some people just been guessing. And that is why they've been named two groups that don't exist anymore. And these two groups were, I mean, I don't want to even call the name because people would start thinking that I said that these two groups existed. But people said that there were two groups that were here in the beginning. And then later on, other people came, the Kwa, they melded all of these groups, including our people who settled in the north, the Islamic the groups that surround the ethnic Mandingo, Fula people. So nobody knows who came first. The fact is that there's no need to argue about who came first. The need now is to argue who is contributing to build this place.
Okay. You just mentioned the Fula. But if you follow it, when we're naming the tribes of Liberia, they are not included.
Well, they are not included because those who named them didn't want to include them.
Okay.
Look, here is a book I have here called Prince Among Slaves. And here is the movie to the book, Prince Among Slaves. It's about a Fula man who was kidnapped from the Futa Jalon Highlands long ago and taken to the United States and was forced to become a slave. He refused to become a slave. They beat him up, they did everything to him, he refused to be a slave. He refused to work as a slave. And so the American people got fed up with him and said, oh, this guy, you want to be a prince? Okay, you are a prince among slaves. And he lived there, improved himself. When he got strong enough, he sued the American government in the American courts.
What year are we talking about, sir?
Oh, it was, I know he returned to Liberia in 1824. I don't know when he went there.
Meaning you were taken from Liberia?
No, he was taken from the Futa Jalon Highlands in Guinea.
Because you used the word return, so...
When he returned to Africa, and you cannot ride a ship or boat to the Futa Jalon Highlands.
Okay.
So the only place they could bring him was Liberia, which has a coastal area. And he came here in 1824. The other people landed in 1822, he came in 1824. And then you say...
Just 2 years.
Yeah. And you want to say his people don't belong here? Besides that, they also came from the north. They came from the north. They are what we call pastoral nomads. Pastoral people are people who take care of cattle, sheep, goat, cows, and all of that. Nomads are people who just move from place to place and do not establish any permanent towns, villages, and all of that. So the Fulans were people who just move about, taking care of their cattle wherever they went. They have several families scattered all around. And so people argue that they do not belong here because they do not have a county or they do not have large towns. But if you follow the pattern of living, they are nomads. They move about. But do you know that over the years you have had permanent people in Liberia who have been Fula, who have hidden their identities because people discriminated?
Because they wanted education.
Do you know we had a justice minister who was a Fula man?
Name?
He was from Grand Bassa County.
His name?
Now he became senator of Grand Bassa County. Now go and do your homework. He was justice minister under Talbot.
Well, we will call you to tell that you won't have some.
No, it's time for you to go and do some research. Okay, go and ask for the Lawrence Morgan family.
Okay, they are Fulans?
Go and ask them if they are not.
Well, how do you got the name Morgan? That's
Oh, how did I get the name Bowier? My father went to live with the Bowier family. My name is Zegbaji. Zegbaji. My father went to Kipamas to live with the Bowier family, so I became Bowier. My name is Zegbaji. You want to call me, you want to know, you want to really identify me, you will say Yidani, Zegbaji. Yidani is from my mother's side of Grebo, which means you see now.
So let's look at the culture. What makes the Grand Bassa culture, people from Grand Bassa culture different from that of people from maybe Grand Jide or Grand Kru?
These are all ethnic groups or tribes. That every group or tribe have their own way of life.
Okay.
Every family has its own way of life. Every family get together and form a quarter. And you have several quarters getting together, forming a village. You have several villages coming together to form a clan. You have several clans coming together to form a district. You have several districts coming together to form a county or territory in those days. And then you have several counties coming together to form a region. And several regions coming together to form the Republic of Liberia. So everybody, for instance, the way I operate in my house is not the way you operate. And so it will be different. So each of these groups develop their own language, their own pattern of education, their own way of living. Some people are farmers, some people are fishermen and women. Everybody is different all over the world. God made the world and God spread people all over that develop different cultures based on the place, the environment in which they live. And so they have to be different.
Okay.
But the situation is that we should all realize that this place we call Liberia does not belong to any one group. We are all strangers here. We should stop discriminating. We should stop saying these people don't come from here. They're not supposed to be here.
Is that because some of the people in the South is the crew they have, the Sapo, the crew? I mean, people from the South is, including the, you have any history on any of them?
Well, each of these people have their history. Most of the people that we find in Liberia today came from the kingdoms in Africa that broke apart some time ago. You had the kingdom of Mali, Songhai, Ghana, and all of that. After some time, there were some problems in those kingdoms. Many different problems. Economic problems. The Sahara Desert was not a desert long ago. The Sahara Desert was a rainforest. You can go and check it out. And because of the way the people farm and other things, the environment changed. Like us now, Liberia will become a desert in the future because we just cut down all the trees, shift them without planting new trees. Long ago, the government had what they call a reforestation program. For every one tree you cut, you either planted 2 or 3 trees. Today, we just cut and cut and cut and ship. We're looking for money. There will come a time we'll feel the effect. In fact, we are feeling the effects now. When storm comes, they blow off the top of the houses because the forest is not there to stop that high winds from reaching the towns. So the Sahara Desert died out, the plants died out, the animals died out, and they became a desert. That's why today you can get oil from the Sahara Desert area, because these animals and these plants were buried and suppressed for so long that they were changed into oil, what we call oil today. Oil didn't come from anything else except the plants and the animals that were here before. So as these things happened, people had to run away from the desert. They could not farm in the desert anymore. So they started to run away.
Start looking
for new terrain. That's the economic situation. The political situation. There were disputes between these groups. Kings against kings and chiefs against chiefs. And people ran away. For instance, let me give you an example. The vibe of Cape Mount County. They were not in Liberia long ago. They were in Mali. They didn't even see the sea when they were born.
The Vai people.
So that's the origin of the Vai people.
Yes, they were in Mali, in landlocked Mali. They developed warfare in Mali. The kingdom fell apart.
How did they call in Mali?
Pardon? No. Listen.
Look at them from
it's the same people that came here with their name. But I will tell you. Let me conclude this story. When they had this warfare, that particular group doesn't like to fight. The Vai people won't want to fight. They would prefer to discuss with you all day long for intellectual talks. They won't want to fight. So they decided they were leaving this war zone to come to a safer place. And this place they wanted to come, they could not come without sending people in front to look for settlement. And so they sent a guy in front to look for a place, an explorer. He came toward southeast of Mali, and he landed in Liberia. But by that time, it was not called Liberia long ago. It was the Green Coast. He went as far as Cape Mount and he saw the sea rolling and making noise. So he felt that this was a place to be, because at that time there were not people, they didn't inhabit that place. So he went back to Mali with his group to tell the white people
the good news
that we have found a place, and the place we found, it has a big water that makes noise. Now the people didn't believe him, because where they were in Mali, no water make noise. They had not seen the sea before. So they followed him until they came to Grand Cape Mount. And when they went there and saw the sea rolling and everything, they got very astonished. They started to honor him. And they called him Massa. Massa means king or chief. And he became Massa, the chief or the king or the prince. And then they referred to the sea as Kwa. So he became Massa Kwa, the prince of the sea.
Massa Kwa.
Massa Kwa, that's where the Massa Kwa family came from. They were the people who formed Cape Mount.
So they are the original.
That man came and formed Cape Mount, and they tried to bestow that honor on him by calling him Massa Kwa, prince of the sea. Every tribe in Liberia has a story, how they came here. And that is why we should study these things and stop discriminating. Stop discriminating. As I speak to you today, the Deputy Commissioner of Immigration is Fuller. Are you aware of that?
Yes,
yes, she's Fuller, fully Fuller. I knew her father before. Her father was friends with my father. She's Fuller. And she has a right to be here. And what happened? Her group is so important that now she's the second person keeping the gate.
So the Fuller is not part of the existing tribes.
Well, that way your teacher told you. Your teacher needs to go back to school. Yeah, the Fullers are part of the 16 tribes of Liberia. Every group came here at a certain point in time.
Therefore, there should be Liberians?
Pardon?
17 tribes.
Well, it could be more than 17. You know, we got a new group of people now. The Ecomog and Omil group of children.
Oh, Fuller
that number more than 300,000 in this country today.
After some time, we'll get them something like that.
Well, they are according to the Ecomog generation or the Omil generation. The Ecomog people came here fighting war, and we had to fix the hot water in the night for them to take bath. We slept in the foxholes with them, and out of those foxholes came children.
No, Fuller man does not apply for a Liberian passport.
You say a Fuller man does not?
Yeah.
Do you know if a Bassa man comes from Cameroon, you have to apply for a Liberian passport? Do you know if a Pele man came from Guinea, you have to apply for a Liberian passport? Do you know if a Grebo man comes from Africa, you have to apply for it? I'm telling you all of this to tell you that every tribe here.
You can be anybody, and then you get the passport as long as you approve Liberian citizenship.
Every tribe in Liberia has another group of tribes outside. The Crown people have Crown people in the Ivory Coast. The Gio and Mano people have the people in the Ivory Coast and some in Guinea. So we are all strangers here. We left our cousins across the river and we ran to this place. The reason why every time there's a problem in Liberia, that problem goes to the Ivory Coast and Guinea and Sierra Leone is because we left our cousins there. When we get in trouble here, we run to them for refuge. The guns we carry, we leave it with them. They keep the guns. When everything cools down, we go and get the guns back. Unless you understand the interrelationship between the groups in Liberia, no matter who you are, you're doing a useless job. A useless job. You know that the President Doe people came from the Ivory Coast?
The Crown?
Yeah. You know that during the war, the prefect, or what I call the superintendent of Tule Play, got on the radio BBC and said that Doe was born in Tule Play. And you know him then? You know the day he died, his people, they were crying for days. Are you aware? Are you aware we are all strangers here? Strangers. We are all strangers. So strangers, Liberians. Let's take for example, the president of Liberia. The president of Liberia is Gola. She's Kru, and she's German. She herself told the U.S. Congress about her heritage. We are all mixed up people. So who is who? Who owns this place? All of us own this place. You go on Newport Street today, at the corner of Newport Street and UN Drive, the biggest building there is owned by a Fuller man. And that young man was selling watches in the streets of Monrovia in 1975. Today he owns the biggest building at the corner of Newport and UN Drive. You see where Liberia is going to?
And sometimes it's not.
Is there any danger associated with that?
There's no danger associated with that if you have an open mind. The fact about it is that people migrate here.
And sometimes we see that those who came, they want to close the door to others.
Well, that's why we have to have laws to make sure that we all keep the doors open. How can you come in and start eating in the dining hall or the restaurant, then you close the door, say no, nobody should come in? All through Liberian history, it is clear that Liberia is an asylum for people of color. An asylum is a place where you run when you are in trouble. So when people had political problems, they ran here. When they had economic problems, they ran here. Then they had religious problems. There was when you had a certain religious group that I might not want to name invaded North Africa and started to force people to worship their way. Some people didn't like that. They ran away and they came down, and some of them came to Liberia and some of them went other places. So there are many reasons.
What is our link with Nigeria?
Our link with Nigeria?
Yeah.
But why?
I mean, try.
Oh, we got basketball in Nigeria, we got basketball in Liberia. But one link, I know.
Okay.
When it comes to Nigeria, Nigeria was one of those countries that supplied us manpower when we didn't have trained people. You know, there was a time we didn't have any Liberian who was an accountant. So we imported people from Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Nigeria mainly. Long ago, we didn't have accountants.
And up to now they are roasted.
And many of these Nigerians were brought here to do this work. There was a time we didn't have trained journalists in Liberia. And you know what we did? We turned to Cameroon. Mr. Bill Frank came here from Cameroon. His daughter today is Deputy Minister of Information. Elizabeth Huff. Elizabeth Inouye Huff. She's there. There was a time the president of Liberia, William V. Tubman, was looking for a press secretary. He couldn't find a Liberian who could do it. So he got a Nigerian. Eugene C. Kingspry Uboma became press secretary to the president of Liberia because there was no Liberian available who could do it. By that time, they had sent people abroad to study. J. Jenkins Peel went to study journalism. Reginald Townsend went to American University to study journalism. All our people were studying while these people were helping. Liberia was built by people from all over the world.
I'm interested in the three tribes, the Ding, the Gola, and the Bele.
What happened with them?
I'd like you to tell me more of them.
Well, I know that the Bele and the Bassa are the same people.
You talk about the Bassa
and the Bele.
The Bele.
They are the same people.
How?
The Bassas were a tribe that was spread all over a large area, including Todi district, long ago. And there was tribal warfare with the Golas. And the Bassas scattered and left Todi district area. Some of them went in the direction of the west, and they ended up in the western cluster, and that's the Bele people. My father was a district commissioner in Bopolu Swen district in 1954-55. And when he went there, he met a gentleman there called Willie Bele. Willie Bele became his friend because they could understand each other. Willie Bele from the Bele tribe, my father from the Bassa tribe, they could speak. Willie Bele worked with my father. And when President Tubman went to visit Bopolu, my father introduced Mr. Willie Bele to him, and then Tubman told him to send Willie Bele to the mansion to work in the mansion. He worked there until 1964 when the new counties were declared, and he became a senator for Lofa County. So everybody got mixed up. Look, let me tell you, people got married to each other. You know, yes, you know, there are a lot of people in this town who belong to certain tribes, but because they think they're Kui, they're scared or they're ashamed to identify with this tribe.
The Kui, long time, I've not heard that.
Or Omen Harry Greaves, for example. The story told.
The father of Harry Green.
Yeah, the father of Harry Green. His grandfather or something migrated from Senegal and came here. And they got married to Bassa people. And got mixed up.
So they are warlocks.
Well, I don't know how many tribes.
That's the dominant tribe. So that's
I
a fair
don't know which
assumption.
one they came from.
Okay.
But why they sudden change of
Let me finish about the Nigeria. Nigeria. Do you know we had an attorney general called Christian Abayomi Cassell?
Yeah.
He wrote a history of Liberia. He was he's a Nigerian. Abayomi is not a Bassa name. It's not a Bele name. Abayomi. So you see, after people come here, they get mixed up. Let me tell you another story of the Nigerian. The key Nigerian story.
That's the reason I asked the question.
That everybody should know.
They play very...
No, they play a very important role. You mean?
The Nigerians in our...
Oh yeah, later. But we play a very important role in Nigeria before Nigeria came back. There is a saying that there is a destiny that makes us brothers and sisters. None goes his way alone. What you send into the lives of others, return unto your own. In Liberian terms, we say you do good, you do it for yourself. You do bad, you do it for yourself. There was a young man in Nigeria going to school, finished high school. He wanted to go to the United States. He couldn't go. Who would give him scholarship? Who would give him passport?
A Nigerian?
A Nigerian man, an Igbo man. So he struggled, and then he decided he would just jump in the ship like Jonah and hide himself. So when the ship get in America, he would get down. He hid himself in the ship, and when they left Lagos, when they got to Accra, they saw that man in the ship. They put him down. He didn't give up. He fought his way to Monrovia, Liberia. He came here, and you know, when you come here, once you start to act like us, then you become part of us.
Yeah.
The guy started to act like us. He didn't call his Nigerian name, he said he was Benjamin. So everybody knew Ben. Ben stayed here, got mixed up with people and everything, got acquainted with people. Ben got a government scholarship to go to Lincoln University in America. And he graduated master's, graduated PhD. He got a Liberian passport that the British government were not going to give him under the colonial rule. He left Nigeria, left America, went back to Nigeria, became a big journalist there, ran several newspapers. Then he entered politics. And people admire Ben. In October 1960, I think October 3rd, 1960, at midnight, when the British flag was brought down and the new Nigerian flag was hoisted, and they celebrated their independence that day, that boy who got a Liberian government scholarship was the one who was sworn in as the first president of Nigeria, Benjamin Nnamdi Azikiwe. And for people who don't believe it, I'll give you one proof. Go online and search for his book, Liberia in World Politics. Liberia in World Politics by Nnamdi Azikiwe. It was a book he wrote in appreciation for the scholarship he got from Liberia. So we helped them. The second time we helped them when they had a war, the Biafran war, and they were tearing Nigeria up. President Tubman was in the mansion. Nnamdi Azikiwe was a former president, but he was the person that the Igbo people from Biafra looked forward to. And so President Tubman called Nnamdi Azikiwe to Liberia. And he called Yakubu Gowon here, because Gowon was the head of state. Nnamdi Azikiwe was head for the Biafran group, to a peace conference in the Temple of Justice. That's where they had a peace conference. And Tubman gave them the formula to end the Nigerian war. He said, Nnamdi Azikiwe, you will go back to Nigeria. You will not go to Biafra. You will go with General Gowon, land in Lagos. Go to the national station in Lagos and announce that as the first president of Nigeria, you do not want to see your country divided and the war will end. He followed that instruction. He announced. That very moment, General Felix Effiong the commander of the Biafran army surrendered and the war ended. So later on in 1990, when Liberia was in the war, the Nigerian people remembered. And so Babangida of Nigeria instigated the formation of ECOMOG to come and help us. What you send into the lives of others, return unto your own. You do good, you do it for yourself. You do bad, you do it for yourself. So today we have more than 300,000 ECOMOG and unbuilt children here. Many of them are Nigerians. They are more than 18 years old, those ECOMOG children. They voted in the last election.
They were born.
Some of them are qualified now to go to the House and Senate. Few years from now, they will be qualified to be president. And so when Mr. Dr. Jagade said he wants to be president, you will tell him no, only to find out that he's your auntie's son. We are so strangers here. So strangers.
We are not recognizing and embracing this reality, Joe.
Because a few persons who are prejudiced have the privilege of being at the top. And so they ignore the fact that we are mixed up people.
Let's talk about the people they call Congo people.
Congo people are people who came from the Belgium Congo. There was slave trade. Slavery was abandoned, abolished. And the British and Americans got together and made a rule and commanded the naval vessel that anywhere in the world you find a ship carrying slaves, arrest that ship, carry the people to the nearest beach and set them free. So people were taken from the Belgian Congo, carrying them to Europe. They were arrested, the ship was arrested, brought to Monrovia and dumped on the beach. And they became free. The people in Monrovia in those days, they were used to being, there was all kind of discrimination in Monrovia itself. And so this new group of people who came from the Belgian Congo who couldn't speak English, couldn't speak Basa, Kwele, Kola, anything. They felt that these people here, they came settle in Monrovia. In fact,
are they different from the free slaves that came?
Oh yes. The free slaves that came were here more than 100 years before these other people were taken.
But we seem to mix the both.
Yes, you know why we mixed the both? Because when these people came, the free slaves who had become what they called themselves at that time, Americo Liberians, they discriminated against other people. Do you know that even among themselves they discriminated? Do you know that nobody could live in Monrovia proper who was not mulatto? The darker you are, the more you go up river. That's what we call upriver. Arlington, Millsburg, Bensonville, Cruzerville. You go out of town.
You were isolated.
You go there and you make farm. You grow breadfruit, sugar cane, pawpaw, pineapple, and all these things. You put it in the boat. In the morning, you bring it down waterside. You sell your goods down waterside. At 5 o'clock in the evening, they blew the whistle. And everybody get in your boat and go because there's no place in Monrovia for you to sleep. You're not a rock boy.
And that was perpetrated by the American Liberians?
They were perpetrated by all of them are American Liberians. Okay. But the reason why it was like that is because the people in Monrovia were the children of the white people in America. The white slave master had children by slave women. And their children were the ones that had the privilege of living in Monrovia. Water Street, Front Street, Ashburn Street. Who are you to go there and you're not mulatto?
So how did the Congo people that came integrate and were accepted by the American Liberians?
The first thing is that they did not integrate and they were not accepted in the beginning.
Okay.
They were sent in the interior. The interior of Liberia in those days was Congo Town. Why do you think they call that place Congo Town? Monrovia did not pass Benson Street.
But how Congo Town agreed to?
But they're not the same Congo people. The Congo people spread all around. But in the original and the official recognition of the Congo people was in Monrovia. Monrovia did not pass Benson Street at that time. To give you the story, as far back as 1954, 55, the Capitol building area, you could go there to hunt.
Just 55?
Yes. You could go to.
That's
They
a
kept
little
the
bit
building. They
recent.
didn't come there until 1959. They mentioned it was not over there until 1964. I was a little boy in Busa Quarter. We used to go to the mansion to pick almond and to run behind small squirrels and things. Liberia just started to develop. Those things were not there. And so they were sending the Congo people out of town in the interior. And so they brought them as far as Congo town and dropped them. Because they had to have a policy of containment. You cannot have these people who can't speak English, they are not Christians, come among us. What would they be doing? So you got to keep them far off and watch them from afar. Then, when they wanted to organize the Liberian Frontier Force, that's when the Congos became one of the key groups in joining the army. Because they had no loyalty to the other tribes. And therefore they could not rebel.
That was the idea.
Oh, and it was a brilliant idea because anybody who is a minority will always use head work to keep the majority away. Like Israel in the Middle East is the minority. But Israel head work keeping all the other people away. So you got to look at history in terms of the reality that happened.
And one of the realities that I don't think anybody would dispute, how come we have the quote-unquote Congo and Americo Liberian dominant in governance?
Well, there's not a difference between what we call Congo now and Americo Liberian.
They have all merged.
They didn't merge. They merged in some cases.
Okay.
But the reason why you have a whole group of people now called Congo is because when these Congo people came, the Americo Liberian were referring to them as Congo people.
Okay.
And they're referring to them as the D-Congo people and D-A-N-M-N. These D-Congo people. So when the indigenous people saw that these people were discriminating against the Congo people, and then the indigenous people reasoned that because these people came from somewhere, they called them Congo. But all are your Congo people because you all came here.
Okay.
So that had the whole group
of
Congo people.
Because the idea of Congo, those who came.
Yeah, who came. The Gola people would say Kui people, Kui, yonder. People who came from yonder. That's how the word Kui came about. The Gola would say Kui people. The people who came from yonder. Yeah.
Mr. Bowier.
Yes.
How come the quote-unquote Congo people dominated governance for all these years, more than a century?
Well, what you should realize is that if you do not belong to the Barrow Football Club, you cannot be an officer in a club.
Okay.
When Liberia was organized by those immigrants that came here from America, it was organized for them, those who came.
For the pleasure and resistance.
For them. If you read the original constitution, it's clearly stated that we, the people of Liberia, were originally inhabitants of the United States of America.
We the people
of Liberia.
That's an assumption of nobody over here.
That's 1847. No, people were here, but the people of Liberia at that time were the people who came by the ship. That's what were written in the original documents. It didn't mean that nobody was here. People were here. People were here, they had the chiefdoms, they had the kingdom, they had the government, the form of government. In fact, the constitution referred to these people that met here as Lord of the soil, those who govern this place. People like Ibrahima Sise, people like Zolo Duma, people like Boso Kamara that we call King Saboso. They were here. King Saboso here, people had a big library in Bapulu, an Islamic library, where Edward Wilmer Blyden went to study Arabic before he went to Egypt and other places.
Very incredible.
Yes. Now, these people were here, but the people who organized Liberia were people who came from abroad. When they organized Liberia, the other people outside of their group were not part of the system. That's what I'm telling you. If you're not,
So
if you're not
they will not allow you to.
if you're not a member of Barrow, how can you hold office in Barrow? Not possible. So these.
And I think that's a little bit clear. because you're not part of the system, so they kept everybody out.
Well, what happened, let's be frank now.
Yeah.
These people who came, they themselves had their limitations. They have been, their forefathers before them have been under slavery for a long time. There were no United Nations to de-traumatize them. So they came here as a bunch of traumatized ex-slaves. And whenever people are traumatized and they are brutalized and are dehumanized, the tendency is that you transfer that to whoever you see. If I treat you bad, fine. So when they came here, they felt that their days for working on the farm and in the factories in America were over. The people who they met here now were supposed to be those people who were supposed to work for them.
Okay.
And number two, these people that met here couldn't speak English. They had to have interpreters and all kinds of things. So when they organized their settlements, like Montserrado, Bassa, Cove, Edina, and Sino, it was just in that circle. The people outside of them were not part of Liberia. And it's clearly stated that it took a time and a process by which they came into Liberia. For example, Ibrahima Cissé of the Medina Kingdom, they call him Ibrahima Cissé, king of the faithful of Medina. He ruled from Medina near Cape Mount to Douala across the bridge.
I think they say he started diplomacy.
Yes, across the bridge. And Douala means a place of blessing. When he came from the interior and the sea breeze hit his face, he said, this is a blessed place. So they call it Douala. Ibrahima Cissé came to Monrovia and signed an agreement with Dana B. Warner. Yeah, Dana B. Warner.
And I understand he wrote that in Arabic, or he wrote a communication in Arabic?
He wrote a communication in Arabic and sent it by his ambassador from the Kingdom of Medina. When they arrived in Monrovia, they called Edward Wilmer Blyden, Dr. Blyden, to read a communication from the Kingdom of Medina to Warner. And he was saying that we want to become a part of the Republic of Liberia.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, I have a standing army. Ibrahima Cissé had a standing army of 1,000 men on horseback. I'm prepared to turn it over to you so that we can clear the trade routes between Monrovia
there were skirmishes on the road.
and Bopolo. There were gangsters on the road, highway robbers and armed robbers.
So you're not starting now?
No, not just now. Beating people up and taking their goods from them. And these people from the north, Islamic Mandingo people, wanted to bring their goods to sell. But gangsters would jump on them and take it from them. So, Ibrahima Cissé was proposing, if you could join us to clear this road, I would become part of Liberia. My army would be put under your supervision. So you see, the people who came here had a government in Monrovia.
But you think the writers of history were fair to us?
Well,
how come they did not capture Ibrahim Cissé? And I read a little bit about it.
You know this guy called C. Abayomi Cassell?
The Nigerian guy.
The Nigerian guy who became Associate Justice of Liberia. He wrote a history of Liberia. This Ibrahima Cissé's story is in that history. But they got different kinds of people who wrote different histories. Different histories. For instance, I will tell you something else you can find in E.J. Yancey, Ernest Jerome Yancey history. Do you know that there's clause in the Constitution that says that white people should not become citizens? Do you know it was not put there by the people who came from America?
Who put it there?
Who put it there? That's a good question. When the people who came from America wanted the VI and the Bassa people to join the Republic of Liberia, they had a long negotiation. And on April 12th, April 12th is a very important...
April, January.
Yeah, April 12th. April 12th, 1824, they signed an agreement that the Bassa people and the VI people would become part of the Republic of Liberia, but on one condition, that no land should ever be sold to white people. 1824, before the Constitution was done in 1847.
That's the history of it.
And so they agreed and they signed that paper. And they could not change it when they were writing the Constitution, because the VI and the Bassa people who have rebelled against them. So it remained in the Constitution of 1847. 1986, we kept it there. It's still there. So it's in Yancey history. But we don't know that. So people think that Liberia was organized by one group. No. When the people came from America, and the Gola, the Vai, the Mamban people and all of that got together to drive them back into the sea after they had some fuss. There was no United Nations to talk about mediation. King Sauboso, or Boso Kamara, came from the Congo Confederation, where we call Bapolo now, that whole area, but the Congo Confederation was bigger than Bapolo. They were all part of Cape Mount, Bomi and all of that, and Lofa. Sauboso came down to Monrovia and settled that dispute. If you go to the J.J. Rao monument on Cape Masrado, go to the monument and walk around the monument. Look at the mural at the base of the monument. To honor Sauboso, President Tubman made them put there forever the photograph, not the photograph, the carving of what happened. You have Sauboso standing up in the center in a long gown with something around his neck, which was leather, and a square leather thing hanging on his chest. He held the indigenous people with one hand and held the American Liberian or the settlers with the other hand and brought them together and made them shake hands. It's there. We have been teaching history from ABC to PhD, and we forget about all of these things because people are interested in writing the kind of history they want to write.
You want to tell their own story.
Tell their own story the way they want it to be heard. Now there are two kinds of history. Some of us now are fighting to have a new history, the third kind. The first kind of history was written by those who arrived in the boat. And you read that history book, they will tell you our gallant men were here and they fought against the savages, you know, and the heathens and all kinds of things. Then these savages and the heathens had children who went to school. Some of them got PhD. And they wrote their history to make the people who came here look bad. Now we need a history that will tell the full story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so we can all appreciate what happened in Liberia. Because half of the things we know in this country, not true. They don't tell you the truth, so they give you a piece of it. Okay, before we go forward, you see this?
Yeah, Liberian Civic. The government and our rights as indigenous citizens.
Yeah, I'm writing this book to be published by the end of the year. And the reason why I'm writing this book is because we need to clarify who we are. For instance, you read the first few paragraphs, you see who Liberians are.
My brother who come from many different parts of the world. Long ago, there were kingdoms and empires in many parts of Africa, such as Songhai, Mali, and Ghana, in West Africa and Central Africa. Okay, further down you see the groups of people that came to Liberia long ago are the Bassa,
the Bassa, the Bassa, but the people could say Bassa.
Okay, the Bele, the Dan, the Gio, the Fula, Bandi, Gola, Glibu, Gribu, Frank, Kisi, Kuru, Pele, Loma, Mindi, Mano, Madingo. They came here at different times when this land was still called Liberian Coast.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's still on a...
Yeah, I'm still writing it.
Okay.
I'm still writing it. I'll be doing it by the end of the year. We need to have this because our children must know a new Liberian history. A history that will bring us together, not divide us based on lies.
Reverend Bill, thank you very much for your time with us.
You're welcome.
This was really great. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And we hope you'll be around to talk to, because the Madingo people say the new year must listen to the old mob in order for progress to, you know, to be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately we can't take call because everything has been said. Unless, inshallah, we'll find time next time to talk more about this. We wish you all the best. Anything you want to add before we go?
Well, the only thing I want to add...
Yeah, I'll just inform the nation that we'll show you a movie sometime tomorrow.
This Fulani movie.
We'll announce the time tomorrow. We'll play on TV.
Prince Among Slaves.
Prince Among Slaves. Do we copy?
That's a movie that proved that the Fulanis were here in the 1800s and before that time.
Okay. Thank you. We are going.
The only thing I need to add is that we should please stop being emotional. Liberian history is a very good history. It's a history that will make you laugh if you tell the story in truth. It's a history that wouldn't need to make anybody look ugly. We are all bad people. We are all good people.
Okay. Thank you. We're going. We'll be right back right after this break.